Okay, so I don't know what happened. It's either about to start raining, which is probably what it is, and I don't know how to be on live in my free Facebook group, and I ain't trying to figure it out. I thought I could, but obviously I can't, and I ain't stressing. So I'll just be right here as Gracie. Okay, so number 2 was go to the grocery store. So now, if you are on, say hey, and I apologize for the effing internet. This is why I can't do lives on specific times, because this is why I need to do it in the middle of the day. Anyway, I was talking about going to the grocery store with an open mind. So if you want, go to the grocery store. If you want to don't restrict yourself. Like the benefit of flexible dieting is that you can go and you can get the new bagel, and you can get the newest flavor of Oreos. Hey, Miss Bonnie, you can get all the foods that you have restricted for so long. You can eat them and you can fit them into your macros. So go to the grocery with an open mind and a full belly. All right, number 3. When you get home, this is huge, and I talked about this the other day on live, and I do this still to this day. I do all these actually to this day. When you get home from the grocery store, scan in your food items, especially new food items that you have into, so like go to tomorrow's meal plan, scan in 1 carb source, 1 fat source, 1 protein source, and 1 treat. And then go to the next day, do the same thing. So over the next 7 days, go into your app and scan in one of each of those. And the serving size that you put at this point, it doesn't matter. You just want to make sure, the biggest thing is to scan in a treat for each of those days, because that's going to be what makes you excited, and like, no matter how, everyone is emotionally attached to food. So food makes you excited, right? So if you plan for 2 Oreos every night this coming week, that's going to excite you. That's going to keep you on track with your goals to do what you need to do to eat the Oreos every day, because not only are you going to be losing weight, you're going to be getting your favorite treat, which is Oreos. So when you get home from the grocery, scan in your food, your new food especially, and then it also puts it into the database. That's another big thing, because if it's in the database, then while you're in the bank parking lot, you can go in and start meal planning, and that kind of like it all comes together. But I meal plan anytime, like I'll go into my app at all random times of the day. Like if I'm sitting in traffic, if I'm sitting at a red light, if I'm sitting at in the bank parking lot, I'm not scrolling on social media. I'm making sure at least I got my tomorrow planned, and that's later on. I'll talk about that. And so having your food that you just bought in your app already in the database, and it's accurate, is convenient more than anything. Because sometimes, like if you look up foods, even if you look it up by the brand, it still will not pick it up. So scan it in. Okay. And so I have set serving sizes that I put in my app when I scan foods in, and they're literally like 1 ounce for obviously bread. I mean, 1 slice for like bread, or 3 ounces for potatoes, 1 ounce for rice. Fats, like it's just 1 ounce or 1. That's it, 1 ounce. If I need to use grams, I do, but typically I use ounces. And that leads me to the next thing is not, like you never want to put 1 serving. So sometimes the app will only have that as an option, like even cups and stuff will not be an option. If the only thing that your app has is a serving, like so where you can only put 1 serving, make a manual entry for yourself based on the grams that are in the serving, and that's going to be found on the label. Because if it says 1, unless you weigh out a serving, which either way, I've proven a serving size based on the labels, even compared to the grams, let's just say, of gummy bears. It says 1 serving size of gummy bears. is 55 grams, and that's 10 gummy bears. Like, I've weighed 55 grams of gummy bears and also weighed 10 gummy bears, and they are very, very different. And that's a lot of macros in this one situation, in this one example, you know? So just be accurate. And this goes into one of the other tips I got, but not using tablespoons, cups as forms of measurement. Like, if you're going to measure and if you're going to track your food, be accurate. Have a digital scale and track it accordingly. Like, that's the most accurate you can be. Cups and tablespoons and pieces, like slices, like obviously, I have like compared one slice of bagel, like one bagel macros, to what a bagel in grams says on the label. Like, I think it was like 120 grams. They say equals one bagel. And so then I put 120 grams into my app just to compare, and they're very different. So at the point of every client that I have, that doesn't matter, to be honest with you, as far as like the nitty gritty parts, but that just shows you how inconsistent and not accurate even food labels are. Even your food app, it's not 1,000% accurate. So whenever I tell clients, like, perfect macros every day is coming up or down 5 to 10 grams of each macro, because even hitting them spot on 0, 0, 0, it's still not guaranteeing accuracy, because the FDA lets little things slide. Like, they only have, it's not like 100% accurate every single food label. There is like I don't know the right word. Like, they can be up and down. The actual people that produce food, they can be up and down a little bit for their macros. So you don't need to be dead on to make great progress. Okay, moving on. All right, number 4. The number of meal plans depends on your daily schedule, which I posted about this week. And so your total macros, right, per day, which is the same. Every day you're going to eat the same amount of macros, and the amount of meals that you have to hit those macros, or that you eat to hit those macros, should change based on your day-to-day activity, right? So when you are busy, I have more meals. It's okay. When you are less busy, have less meals. The only thing that's gonna, I don't really, so I'm gonna post this, or I did post this, sorry. I posted that the other day, I just said that. But the way I posted it, as far as like dividing your macros, I don't do it that way. That's the easiest way that you could do it until you learn. But I didn't really think of it that way until I was like, how could I easily help them do this? But dividing your macros, so if you want 3 meals, obviously just divide all 3 macros by 3. If you want, and I put it in the post, if you want 3 meals and 2 snacks, divide your total macros by 4, and then one of those macros gets divided by 2. That sounds like a lot, and you don't have to do it that way. Like, I literally just go in and put different meals, different foods, and know how many meals, and however many meals it comes to. So it's really just not that hard, but that would be an easy number. If you're a numbers person, that's the easiest way to do it, which I did post about. Okay, this is the biggest thing with meal planning. You got to analyze how you feel hunger-wise at the end of the day, because if you don't meal plan, two things are going to happen if you don't plan. If you don't plan good, as far as like split your macros up according to you and how hungry you are, or based on obviously your energy, right? So if you go on your 12-hour shift, let's just say, and you only plan 5 meals or 4 meals, or whatever, however many, you're going to be hungry at the end of the day. So you're going to come home and you're going to, before you get home, you're going to stop and you're going to get something to eat, and you're now going to be over your macros, because nobody wants to be hungry. Nobody wants to be irritable. Nobody's going to just stick it out for one day. Their brain then switches to this, oh, one day it's not going to hurt me. But too often it's going to hurt you, girl. So you're either going to have no macros left by the time you get home, which is going to cause you to go over, or you're going to have 600 calories to eat at night when you get home because you forgot to eat, or you didn't eat, or you didn't have time to eat, or whatever. And then you're going to stop eating before you've hit your macros, because after the first 300, 400 calories, you're so stuffed that you don't want to finish them. So whether you go over your macros or under your macros, it's the same. It's pretty much the same thing. You're going to not make progress. The whole point, and I try and stress this, macros is not, and even flexible dieting, it's not the diet and it's not the macros that get you the results. It's just the numbers give you a very, very, very accurate thing goal to be consistent with. Like it's just consistency. So if you do anything with your body and consistently, it's going to respond. So it's not that it's certain macros or certain numbers of macros. It's not specific numbers that are magical. It's just the consistency, and that's the only reason that you track macros. Add meals. That's me. Hey, Amber. I'm going to look at all of the comments and stuff after, because you of all people know that I get thrown off very easily. So what I was saying was analyzing each day. At the end of the day, analyze. Did you go over? Did you forget to eat? Did you, what happened that day? Or did you do everything perfect? If you went over your food and you need more meals, obviously plan for more meals. And if you went over, the next thing after planning more meals, if you did plan meals, is increasing the volume of meals. So the reason that you went over is because you didn't feel full, obviously. So your goal is you want to feel full for longer. So you need to increase the amount of volume that each meal has. And volume is pretty much vegetables, lettuce, like things that have fiber in it that keep you full for longer. If your meal has no fiber, you will not feel full for very long, period. And the more sugary the food is, the quicker your body is able to absorb it and get it, and you use it as energy, and you're not going to be full, one, and you're not going to have energy for long because your blood sugar goes, and then it comes crashing back down. So if you find that you need more food, to stop yourself from overeating on your macros, you're going to do both, two of them. You're going to do both of it. You're going to break your meals or your macros into more meals, smaller meals, and you're going to increase the volume. If you find that you are super stuffed and you can't hit your macros, you can lessen your meals. So let's say you plan 6 meals. All right, let's break it down to 4 meals. That could be due to time, forgetting, whatever. And then we're going to decrease the volume. So if you had a salad for lunch and also for dinner, let's just do 1 salad, and then just increase the calories in each meal to make them have less volume, to make you feel less full, right? Okay. Oops. Last thing on meal planning. This is a huge one. When you think about, and I give this example all the time, when you plan a grilled chicken wrap with avocados, or let's just say you're a new client, and I give all of my clients 1 meal plan based on foods that they love. This is just to jumpstart them, right? And let's just say I plan you a grilled chicken sandwich or a grilled chicken wrap with avocado, and you eat that the first couple days, and now you want to switch that out because you're out of wraps. You're not switching out a grilled chicken wrap with avocados. You're not taking those macros for that entire wrap and switching them out and looking for like another food or another meal with the same macros. If you're looking for that, you're never going to find it. What you're looking for is to replace the carbs from the wrap, replace the chicken, which is protein, and replacing the avocado, which is fats. So that can look, and obviously I'm not even on my slideshow right now, but it's okay. That can look like oatmeal with protein powder and peanut butter. That can be a salad with chicken and almonds and salad dressing. Like, those macros can look completely different. So stop thinking of food as meals or meals as whole meals, and look at it as individual numbers and individual macros. Does that make sense? So take your grilled chicken wrap with avocado, and now you're looking at that as 3 different numbers. Does that make sense? So that's a game changer, to be honest with you, when you start thinking about food like that. Number 5, tip number 5, plan a dessert. Okay. I do it every night, every day. Y'all see it every day. And I started doing this early on because of 2 reasons. One, it acts like a contingency plan. So earlier when we lived in St. Francisville, we lived at the Bluffs, we always got invited to eat dinner out. Obviously, when you move, people don't invite you places no more. Just kidding. But we got invited more so because our friends live right down the road. So I always plan, obviously, dinner and dessert, and I usually have a snack at 5 o'clock. And so at 3 o'clock, when Andy would be like, hey, we're going to eat with Candace Frank, I could delete my dessert and delete my dinner, and I would have more macros, right, left over to go out to eat. So it acted as a contingency plan, and it also acted as a reward system. So for most days we didn't get invited to go eat, So I would make my dessert very desirable. Even if you don't eat sweets, make it desirable. It could be like an ounce or 2 ounces, however much, of Doritos. Like, just make it like everyone wants something. Usually everybody wants something sweet before bed, or at least most people do. So make it desirable. That for a long time, like years, was the first thing that I would plug into my meal plan. Was a dessert, whether it be a pint of Halo Top ice cream or 2 ounces of peanut butter, whatever it was. That was the first thing that I plugged in, because that's what kept me on track towards it all day long. Like, I would be so excited I'm not going to mess up my macros, because then I can't eat my pint of Halo Top. So 2 reasons you plan dessert every day. It acts as a contingency for when things come up. And then it acts as a reward system for when things don't come up. Okay. Number 6, create 1 meal plan and eat it 2 to 3 days in a row. So the beauty of flexible dieting is that your meal plans should never suck. Like, you should never be like, man, this meal sucks, because you can literally eat any food in the world. Any food. There was a time where that we had this little donut shop. When I was working out in Zachary, we had a little donut shop that did little donuts, mini donuts. And I ate donuts every other day for like 2 months. I'm not joking. Still made progress, still lost body fat, still built muscle, eating donuts every other day. I'd eat 4 of them, 4 mini donuts. Let me explain this to y'all that don't live in Zachary. It wasn't donut holes. It was like 3 donut holes in one. They were little. They were the mini donuts, and I'd usually get the bacon maple ones. They were so good. Okay, so your meal plan is going to either suck because you made it suck, or it can be as good as you want. The only time that people are ever like, not excited about their meal plan is when they don't take the time to make things that that excite them fit into their meal plan. So take time, y'all. Take time to jobs. Yeah, that was it. Take time to make one perfect meal plan that you love, where you look forward to breakfast, you look forward to your lunch, you look forward to snacks, you look forward to dinner, and eat it for 2 to 3 days. That also makes meal prepping super easy. You just copy and paste everything. And then you just make everything all at one time. That's the easiest way to do it. And then over those 2 and 3 days, you're planning that next perfect meal a couple days in the future in your app. You know what I mean? So that just makes it easy. And again, so if your meal plan can be foods that you love, and your meal plan, eating it over and over for 2 and 3 days in a row, lessens your stress, and you're losing weight, that's a no-brainer. Literally, it's a no-brainer. I don't know why people even think twice when I say that. Okay, so number 7, I kind of talked about this earlier. Weighing your food on a digital scale, not using cups, pieces, blah, 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 blah. I use ounces for everything. Even like I said earlier, I'm not even going to kind of go into this one because we already did, but I don't use pieces. I don't use servings. Just being accurate. And again, sometimes people are like I play with this type of thing, and I know that's what I do for a living to bring it to y'all, but I'm telling y'all from a million times I've played with it as far as comparing what one serving is and one slice, and how, what I've measured and compared all the things. I promise you, weigh your food out. Weigh it out. Don't trust the labels. Don't trust one piece of pecan pie. When I did the pecan pie, and I posted about that, I pretty much posted about everything, but when I logged 3 ounces, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but when I logged 3 ounces it was one serving of pecan pie, or maybe it said one piece of pecan pie was, let's just say, 40 grams. The difference between that and when I logged 40 grams of pecan pie, it was huge. That's a horrible, that's a great example. That was horribly how I said it. I should not have even started that because I don't even know the numbers. But you get what I'm saying. Weigh your food out. Using ounces or grams. I use ounces for the most part. Number 8, weigh your food. I get the question all the time. When do you weigh your food, before or after you cook it? It don't matter. Pick one and stick with it. So everyone knows, or if you don't know, food loses weight whenever it's cooked. It's going to lose weight when it's cooked. So you can, if usually labels are according to before it's cooked. Don't even overthink it. Just pick away and stick with it. I weigh everything after it's cooked because it makes meal prepping easy. Then I could just, y'all see me cooking my vegetables. You would have to meal prep before you cooked if you wanted to weigh shit raw. So don't overthink it. Just be consistent with it. If you do it after, do everything after you cook it. Everything it all comes down to consistency. If you're wrong, this is what I tell people, even with your logs, if you are logging food wrong, keep logging it wrong. It's not gonna affect you at all if you just continue to do it. As far as so deer meat's a good example. So I have different manual entries that I have entered over the years based on how we get our deer processed, if it's 50-50 or straight venison, blah, blah, right? There is a log in the app for venison, and it doesn't say specifically what that venison is. But if y'all always get 80-20 and you use this random venison log, always, and that's it. That's fine. Just continue to use this log. Does that make sense? So whatever you do, however you cook it and however you log it, just be consistent with it. If it's wrong, that's okay. Be consistent with it. Does that make sense? Don't overthink that part. Okay. I didn't know that food lost weight when you cook it for 2 years. I'm not joking. My first 2 years, I did not know that. And then I don't even know, I read it somewhere and I tested it, and sure enough, it sure did lose a lot of weight. But then I was like, oh well, I'll just keep on rolling like I am. I thankfully didn't overthink it, because it really didn't matter. I didn't have a coach at the time to ask, but thankful that I did not overthink that. Okay, number 9. Knowing what you're going to eat tomorrow, today. Y'all see me all the time say that all the time. I've done this since 2014. How many years is that? How many years that is? I still know what I'm going to eat tomorrow, today. Still. And so when clients are like, I thought I could wing it. I'm like, you thought you could wing it? Girl, I don't even try and wing it. And it's not that the biggest thing with that, and trusting yourself comes over time. Like when we went off to Andy's surgery, and I put my ice in my ice chest and just never grabbed the food that I had prepped. I was thinking whenever we left, because I remembered the food, like when we were half mile down the road, but I was like, I'm not going to make Andy turn around because the doctor told us to get there ASAP, whatever. But I thought to myself, if I had done this, even 6 years ago, I would have made him turn around. 100% made him turn around. But I know without a doubt that I'll be able to hit my macros tomorrow. With the food that I have and the knowledge that I have, obviously I have the ability to go to the store and make a good decision, make good decisions. And then obviously you saw what I ate. The biggest thing with that is trusting yourself to know, no matter what happens, I can hit my macros, right? You have to build that trust. And at the beginning, not only can you not wing it because you have no knowledge, but you can't wing it because you don't trust yourself. And so that's huge. That's another reason just why to always have a plan. And I know plans aren't always going to work out. Even that day that I planned, or that whole weekend, y'all saw me, I was on here planning all the plans to just run straight out the door with no food. So plans don't always go as planned, but don't think you can wing it until you know pretty much in your heart that you can do it. Okay? So know what you're going to eat today, tomorrow. So before you get on social, unless you're coming on to my live, make sure that you know what you're eating tomorrow. That's the only way that you're going to be able to stay on track. Like and then this is something else. This really just helps with anxiety, but, I burned myself today too, curling my hair. So I have an alarm that goes off at 3 o'clock to remind me to look at my steps, because lately I've been sitting at my desk, look at my steps. And then before I go shower at night, I put my food for dinner in my bowl. Like I take it out of the Tupperware. And that's just because we don't eat dinner till like 9, sometimes 10 o'clock. And the last thing I want to do at 10 o'clock is realize that I need to cook vegetables. Or even though I can cook them in the microwave if I want to, but I don't like them like that. But I just always thinking of the next, of what would cause anxiety? What would cause me anxiety? That would cause me anxiety. To realize at 10 o'clock that I need to cook my vegetables. Because at 10 o'clock, or at dinner time, I'm thinking about what I need to cook for Andy, because I ain't got a plan for that usually till last minute. But just, that's the reason that you plan, is because it lowers your anxiety. And that goes, so number 10 was to set alarms. And that was really to remind you to eat, because at first, all the time, I have people tell me all the time, I never get hungry. Well, you never get hungry because your metabolism's slow. You never get hungry because your metabolism is slow and your hormones are imbalanced. Because hunger is a hormone. And so if you're not getting hunger signals, that's not a good thing. So at the beginning of your journey, you don't get hunger signals already, and it's going to take your body, you're going to have to be consistent. The longer you're consistent with consistently getting your food in, you're going to start getting hunger signals. But until then, you have to remind yourself to eat, or you're going to either be over, like we were talking about earlier, or you're going to be over your macros, you're going to binge, run out of macros and go over, or you're going to come up to where you have 600 and something calories to eat that night, right? So set an alarm. At the beginning, I set an alarm I started every 5 hours. And I set the alarms every single morning to go off every 5 hours to remind me to eat. And this is before I was tracking macros. This is when my only goal was to eat more often, because I didn't eat at all, ever. And I would eat, but it would be like, I'd eat nothing but protein, and then I would go a whole day without eating. So every 5 hours, I'd set an alarm, and then probably a month or two later, maybe a month and a half, I started getting hungry every 5 hours. So then I started every 4 hours, because even every 5 hours, I was still only eating 800, 900 calories, right? And that wasn't enough. So anyway, just used alarms at that time to remind me to eat, and it worked. Obviously I didn't count macros, but that's what I tell clients when they say that they forget to eat. I'm like, how do you forget to eat, first of all? But I get it. If you don't have hunger signals, it's easy, and you're busy, obviously, it's easy to forget to eat. But like I was talking about earlier, I set alarms for everything, and that helps me remember things like water. I set an alarm to remind me to look for my steps. I set an alarm to remind me to get dinner physically prepped. So use your alarms, set them. I don't literally have 20 alarms that go off all day long. Okay, let's go. Keep on rolling, because I don't know if it's been an hour or if it's been 36 minutes, because I got 2 different clocks. Okay, the biggest reason is people fail when it comes to calorie counting or macros. So most people track calories until they learn about macros, right? Macros is a lot. It's a lot. I have talked to a couple people today. They're like, I don't know much about macros. And I'm like, yeah, that's normal. It's completely normal to not know. The only reason that I know is because it's what I do, And my biggest tip I could give you is to hire a coach. And I'm not saying that because I am a coach, but because for 8 years, or since 2014, I have been learning about macros for 8 years. I just signed up for a nutrition course, because there's still more that I gotta learn. That's how much information, one, is out there, and two, there is about macros, macronutrients and nutrients and vitamins in the body and the metabolism and hormones. It's not something you're gonna learn in one day. It's not even something that I don't even do 3-month coaching anymore, because that's not enough time to learn, sustain, achieve, and maintain results. So, and I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm just being honest with you. It's so much to learn. But the reason people fail, going back to what I was talking about, the reason people stop tracking calories is because they either get to a point where they're not losing weight anymore, or they get discouraged with the amount of effort that they're having to put into it because they're not accurate enough. So I posted about this, I think, last week. If you have 30 or more pounds to lose, you could just track calories and hit 15, 16, 1700 calories every day and lose weight. But eventually you're going to get to a point where you have to take it to the next level. People that have less than 30 pounds to lose, they need to learn macros. They need to learn how to be very precise and very efficient with the calories that they're taking in, which is learn how to track macros. But people get discouraged before they quit because the effort, they just are the lack of direction when it comes to calories. People stop. So don't stop. It's what works. You just need to be you just need to take it to the next level. Okay. Oh, shoot. Another reason, okay, number 2. They're tracking macros, but the macros are not working for their body. So, again, going back to hiring a coach, calorie or macro calculators don't take into consideration all that asks for is your age, your weight, your height, and how active are you. It does not take into consideration your metabolism, your hormones, your health, any medication, past diet history. Those are literally more important than really your age, weight, and height, to be honest with you, when it comes to figuring your macros. So if you're tracking macros and you're not losing weight, you're consistent with it, you're not losing weight, it's just because they're not right for your body. And there's not really a right or wrong, but these macro calculators, if I put the same data that Joe Blow puts in there, it's going to give me the same exact thing. But I've been dieting my whole life, and he's never dieted, so his metabolism is fast, and my metabolism is slow. My hormones are imbalanced, but yet it's telling us to eat the same amount. We're not going to get results. So, hire a coach, or just somebody. Or you can figure it out on your own, how to figure out accurate macros. Okay. They lose sight of natural hunger cues. Okay. This is just something that's, you're going to be like, oh, okay. So when babies, are born, obviously, they whine when they're hungry and they stop eating when they're full. And over the course of years, you get into adulthood and you lose sight of that. Like, adults don't eat according to their natural hunger cues, period. Like, you eat out of emotion, or you eat because you're bored, or you eat because you haven't eaten all day long and you're starving because you didn't listen to yourself earlier. So naturally, we have these cues. Look at these babies, learn, for me, I'm like, okay, it's kind of like whenever I'm kind of all over right now, but it's kind of like when I tell people God made 3 nutrients to keep the body alive. 3, not 300, 3. Carbs, fats, proteins. So why would you want to do keto? Like, what makes you think cutting one of those out, carbs, is beneficial for your body? What makes you think cutting any of them out is beneficial for your body when there's only 3? Like, they are very, very specific things that these 3 things do to your body. That there's things that carbs do that fats can't and proteins can't. There's things that fats do that carbs and protein can't. Same thing with protein. You have to have all 3 of them. All 3 of them. So when I think about things like in that way, like with the whole baby thing, that makes me think like, okay, well, what have people done to lose sight of these natural hunger cues? Well, they worry about their hormone, or they worry about what others think. They worry about the diets, the fad diets, and they try them, and then their metabolism slows down, and then their hormones get imbalanced, and then they're screwed. And then they don't eat because they don't get hunger cues, and they're waiting for them, and they just don't. Or they don't stop eating because they don't get you get hormones as well that tell you to stop eating, that you're full. But if your hormones are imbalanced, you're not going to get that, which obviously causes you to overeat. So just that's underneath the biggest reasons people fail is because they lose sight of that, of the feeling of feeling full or the feeling of feeling hungry. And so then they eat based off of boredom, other people, like all the reasons that you probably all could come up with as to why you eat, which is never going to be because I'm hungry. All right, number 4, they forget the basic preparations and habits that cause, I don't think I wrote that right. They forget, and this is mind-blowing to me as well, and maybe probably before 9 years ago, or 8 years ago, however long that was, I probably didn't do this, but just bring a lunchbox. Like, people are like, I'm not going to be home all day. Like, how do I prep? I'm like, don't you send your kids with lunchboxes? Like, don't you send them with a meal plan or a lunch box full of food to school? Why? Because you don't want them eating the cafeteria food, because the cafeteria food has no nutrients. So why would you want to feed yourself? Like, all the restaurants are adult cafeterias. That's what we use it as. And it don't have to be that way. You should treat yourself and your body the same way that you think and treat your kids. And bring a lunchbox. It's the simplest thing in the world. And I've literally had people be like, oh, makes sense. And I'm like, yeah, just grab a lunchbox. They're like $5. Okay. You overthink macros and meal planning, and it causes anxiety. That's probably the number one reason people quit doing macros. Number 1, because it causes anxiety. And it doesn't really cause anxiety. You know, we are the reason, and I say that all the time on here, we are the reason we have anxiety. We live in the future. We overthink things. And so you have to be aware enough to be like, it's not hard. And maybe if you have somebody telling you that it's not hard is what you need, but it's not hard. Don't overthink this. Like, you're just trying to, you just need direction. Most of the people that come to me just need direction. So obviously if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to count calories and you don't have direction, of course you're going to be anxious, because anxiety is not knowing what's going to happen. It's living in the future, and then the fear of the unknown, right? If you don't know what you're doing, and you're just, let's just say, counting calories, and you're not getting results, and you don't know the direction that you're going, yeah, you're going to have anxiety. You are. But you don't have to. You don't have to have it. So anxiety, and I talk about anxiety a lot because almost every client that I have deals with anxiety. I deal with anxiety, and I have to pull myself back a lot of times from living in the future. You know, you could prep as much as you want to. You still, there has to be a time where you're like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Especially when what you're doing, and even just in life in general. Now I'm kind of just rambling, but everything really is unknown, right? All you really have control over is what you do in moments, right, in life. And so making decisions, good decisions, learning. That's why learning flexible dieting and macros is so important, because you can't always plan. You can't always have your lunchbox. You can't always have a plan because life happens and there's nothing you can do about that. But if you have the knowledge that counting macros gives you, then you have all the tools that you need to always make the best decision. Then it comes down to just the discipline of, am I going to make the best decision, or am I going to just be like, screw it, you know? So if I could like rewind right now this live and just say the number one reason that you want to learn macros and flexible dieting is that, because that lessens your anxiety knowledge, because it's no longer unknown, right? Anxiety comes from the unknown. I know I said that. So no, then you won't have to have anxiety. And then having an all or nothing mindset. That's another reason that you have anxiety. And again, macros, a lot of times, that's what causes people to quit, is they have this all or nothing anxiety. I mean, they have this all or nothing mindset, and you cannot have that because you don't know what you're doing. And that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to know what you're doing. As long as you're doing better than you were yesterday, that's perfect. So I'm a very blunt person in general, but especially with clients, like if you're being all or nothing, I'm going to see it quickly because I'm all or nothing. So I can identify that. And I'm going to tell you 100 times, like, you cannot be that way. You cannot be that way. And I'm going to give you all the best tips that I have to help you. But to have all or nothing, and I posted about this, I think Monday, maybe. You know, I work on that every day. Every day I work on that mindset. And not with macros anymore, not with workouts anymore, not with my progress anymore. With other things, you know, just know that nothing in your life should you be all or nothing about. Nothing. And so this is learning nutrition and learning flexible dieting and macros and all that is one of them, because it's going to is one of the biggest ones, because it's going to prevent you from getting healthy. And it's going to prevent you from changing your habits. Another day I heard a quote, and it said, your habits are slowly killing you. And I'm going to talk about this probably on a live by itself, but it said your habits are slowly killing you. So it was talking to coaches as to why we need to inform and teach people, because they don't understand that. They don't understand that their daily habits, even if it's not a bad habit, even if it's just a habit of coming in after work and sitting down and not getting your steps in, that's slowly killing you. Or obviously coming in and pouring a glass of wine, that's slowly killing you. Like, and it's not, so I'm not preaching come in and go for a walk, come in and get your steps in, or come in and do it. I just want to bring awareness to your current habits so that you can control them if you want to control them, you know, but you can't control what you don't even realize is a habit. And where people go wrong is they don't realize that everything we do is a habit. Drinking, I just drank a energy drink at 5 o'clock out of habit. Like, my body literally was like, it's 5 o'clock. You're supposed to be doing something and you ain't eating. So where is it at? Everything we do is a habit all day long. Okay, moving on, because I'm almost done. The number 6 reason that people fail or stop, hey, though, I don't like that word fail, at macros is they give up too early because they do not have non-negotiables. So, and they give themselves grace too often and too early. So non-negotiables are things that no matter what happens, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, right? Hey, Jennifer, I'm glad you're here. So non-negotiables, that should be for everybody. Steps and water. Obviously, macros would be the third one, but you can walk around your house to get your steps in a circle if you want to. And water, people always are like, I don't like the taste of water. Water don't even taste at all. So that doesn't make any sense. But flavor it with, use Mio, use Crystal Light. There's water at your hardest. You need to flavor it. It's been hard. Amber, you should be at 3 gallons by now. You've been trying to do this, increase your water for long enough. Look, carry yourself a gallon around, and you already know everything I'm gonna tell you. So you need to step your game up, girl. But have non-negotiables. No matter where you are, if you're on vacation with Jesus or if you are at home, you get your water in, you get your steps in. Like I said, third thing is you get your macros. And then giving yourself grace. I don't even know exactly what that means, but a lot of people use that phrase. And I think it means giving yourself, not being so hard on yourself. And that is great. But there's a fine line between when, hey Carrie, I use Mio sweet tea and drink, yeah. I've never had the Mio sweet tea, but I've had the another powder pack, and it's good. But I use Mio. I don't use it a lot, but I do use it though, and a lot of my girls use it. But eventually, you're not gonna need it. So you use it right now because you need it. Eventually, once your body gets used to the amount of water that it actually needs, it's gonna be like, girl, you're thirsty. And so whatever you got to do at the beginning. At the beginning, I did use a lot of Crystal Light. I never put it in my gallon, and I always tell my girls, don't put it in your gallon jug, because you're gonna get tired of it, and then you got a whole gallon left. So pour it out into whatever and flavor it. So giving yourself grace too often or too early. So I don't know when I'm gonna talk about this. Maybe I'll talk about it after I get my check-in from today, but from Dylan. But last week's check-in, he said it was the best check-in of my life, because he pretty much just verified what I felt was the mental progress for me, and unattached. I'm so unattached to food emotionally, and coming from having an eating disorder where you're solely attached, like, directly to food. So what he said, because he assigns at this point during my building season, he assigns like intuitive eating meals, and I've had this for a couple of years, but never has somebody I've never had a coach tell me, okay, have an intuitive eating meal, And I don't need it. Like, I don't need it because if I want a burger, I could eat a burger and fit it into my meal plan. If I want donuts, I fit it into my meal plan. So I pretty much take all my intuitive eating meals and don't use them 4 times, like the night before we went into surgery a couple weeks ago when Andy wanted a steak dinner, and of course I'm going to go bring him to get a steak dinner, and I'm going to not bring my food. I'm not going to prep my food. I'm just going to go and enjoy my freaking meal with my husband, because he deserves it, not because I deserve it, because he deserves it, and I'm not going to think about anything. So that's just how I do it. And I was like, to have somebody tell me, you can go ahead and go eat a burger, go eat whatever you want for 1 to 2 meals a week, and for me to be like, I'm good, I don't need it. That's huge, and I thought that was my phone. That was my air condition. So going back to what I was talking about was giving yourself grace. There is you should never feel like you deserve meals. Like you don't earn meals. Like, food is just fuel. Like, that's all it is. And it can taste good, like a burger. Of course it tastes good. But you have to detach yourself from food being a reward or a punishment. And that's what that email, and I'll do a live about it that makes better sense, but that was what, it just verified that I am no longer, and somebody else sees it, I'm no longer attached, good or bad, to food. And that's what I try and preach to clients, is that you can't, like, we don't have cheat meals. We don't have we have treat meals, and we have, you know, we don't need to have meals really like that, because they're going to happen. And so when your husband asks you to go out to eat, or when it's on your anniversary, or when you have vacation, or you have all these things that happen in life, when you don't need to be tracking and worry about macros and food and weight and stuff, those are where you deserve to treat your body and treat to something different. You know what I mean? I don't know if that made sense, but so people give themselves grace too much, and because of that, they can't make progress. They can't, period. You know what I mean? Like, I've had people be like, I started a diet, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and I'm ready for a cheat day. I'm like, God dang, you need a whole damn day? You can't do a meal? And second, you've been doing this for 2 weeks. Like, 2 weeks. Like, I understand I do, like, understand that's a big deal for people. And that's great. But imagine what it's going to feel like and be like in 2 more weeks. And then in 2 more weeks after that. You know what I mean? And there's going to be a time where, again, you have to force yourself to become unattached to food. Maybe Live is telling me to stop rambling. Okay, I'm gonna hurry up because I don't know if the weather's coming, what it's doing, but it keeps saying that I'm rebooting. Okay, so give yourself grace. That's not what I'm saying. Give yourself grace, but make sure that you don't give it so often that you're not making progress, you know? And then where are you giving yourself grace at? If it's with food, understand that you don't have to have cheat days or treat days or meals. You can fit these things into your macros every single day and still lose weight. That's the beauty of flexible dieting, is that there's no need for treat or cheat meals or days. Definitely not days. To where you don't need to give yourself grace. You just are graceful to yourself all the time. Okay. Number 7 reason that they fall off is because they cater to their kids and husband when it comes to meals. And, you know, I get it. You got to feed them. But when I was growing up, and y'all can tell me, Carrie, I could probably see you like this. My mom used to tell me, you can eat this or you can eat cereal. And the cereal was like Cheerios. And ain't no kid want to eat Cheerios. So, and that's what I tell Andy and Izzy. I understand they aren't going to eat the exact same thing that I eat. But when I make venison to put on my salad, they're going to have taco night, or we're going to have sloppy joes. Or if I make fit, you don't have to cater a 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, however old they are when they start talking and telling you what they gonna eat is too damn young to be telling you, the mom, what they gonna be eating. That's the kids first. Yeah, you eat what I serve? Yep. Good job, Carrie. I'm proud of you. Yeah, she's never made, and she's been tracking macros for what, almost a year? Never made separate meals. Like, there are ways around to play with it, but you eat what you serve. And let me tell you, my husband, all you ladies out there that cook these extravagant meals for your husband, and you stop doing that, and you stop working towards your goals because of that, stop. Your husband is a grown-ass man. He can find his own food, period. And he's still alive. And he comes home. I asked him when he left today, I said, what you eating for dinner? And he said, I don't know. I'll figure it out. Perfect. He's a grown-ass man. Like, don't let them stop you from achieving what you want to achieve. Okay? And I'm going to start rambling since January. Yeah, so 9 months. Is it 8 months? 8 months. That's the biggest thing. And that's something that I talk about at discovery calls. People will be like, your husband likes to dine out too often. With flexible dieting, you can eat out whenever you use flexible dieting. The biggest thing, earlier, my number one thing was clean up your environment. That's part of your environment. You know, your support system, like your husband, has to be supportive of this specific goal. And because Andy likes to travel. So my whole first 2 years of my journey was I had to figure out how to travel with Andy. And up front, when I started doing this, I obviously told him, and he was the only person that knew about my eating disorder. And he knew this wasn't just he knew the root reason why I was doing what I was trying to do, because I had to overcome that eating disorder. And this was the only way that I felt like it was going to happen. And because of my openness with that, I didn't just say, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to, get fit. I didn't just give this surface level shit excuse to him. And because of that, he still to this day is so supportive. And as far as like dining out, so like, I'll give an example, Jennifer, for this. Even into my journey, my biggest thing to cut, was, do y'all use these? Was alcohol. Because we lived at the Bluffs, our best friends lived down the road, we have camps there, or camps next to them. I couldn't kick alcohol. I quit drinking every day, but on the weekends, I would drink. And when I drink, the reason that I don't drink today is because when I take the first little sip, it's like, give me all the tequila. I either want zero, going back to me trying to still find that balance between go and stop, or I don't want any. And so, and I told him after probably, a couple months, I was like, I cannot stop drinking. Like, I have to stop with that because it sets me back. Every Monday, I'm reset, right? I know y'all feel me. And I said, and I just can't make progress, and I can't mentally get over this like hump. Like I just always being discouraged on Monday, it sucked, And he quit drinking with me. He quit drinking for 6 or 7 months. So every time we went to our friend's house, every time we went to the camp, I didn't feel alone, as far as not drinking, because he didn't drink either. And eventually, 6 or 7 months later, I was strong enough mentally to be out in public and go to our camp and go to our friends and go to dinner without feeling the need of alcohol. But I wouldn't have been able to do it if it weren't for him doing it with me, because you just feel FOMO. Like, you just feel like you're missing out. And that goes with food as well. And so for what I guess, like, the biggest thing is telling your husband, telling your boyfriend, whoever, not just surface level why you're doing this. Tell them the confidence that you don't have. Tell them what you see when you look in the mirror. Be honest with them and completely transparent with them, because unless you are, they're not going to see how important this is for you. And so they're not going to, and a man, don't even make started on them, but they're not going to even understand after you tell them, after you're transparent and honest with them, they're still not going to completely comprehend how you feel, because just a man doesn't feel that way. But you don't need him to understand. That's what I've told Andy since day one. I don't need you to understand macros. I don't need you to understand what I'm doing. I don't need you to understand weighing food. I don't need you to understand not a damn thing I'm doing. All I need you to do is be okay with it and support me. And so he would, like at the beginning with the alcohol, people would say, like, when we go up, walk up to the party, they'd be like, Gracie, you want something to drink? And he would be like, oh no, we're good. You know, and so, or when people call us, like during prep, there was only like 1 or 2 times that I went out to eat during prep, just because it's my first prep and I was excited, and we live out, like, we don't ever go out to eat anyway, but and he would, before he would agree to do anything, he would always call me and be like, do you want to, especially if it was last minute, he'd be like, do you want to do this? Or he would just tell people, like, if we would go over for dinner, sometimes I'd bring my own food, and I wouldn't usually eat it there, but I'd eat it in the car. But he would take up for me. He'd be like, you know, she's not going to eat, she already ate her. He would just take up for me to where I didn't have to speak for myself. You know what I'm saying? So Jennifer, you can make progress. Like, I've had this with clients a lot, where they eat out, whether it be because of their job, or if their husband likes to dine out, whatever it is. That's the beauty of flexible dieting. But I would definitely talk to him about why you want to change this so much. And again, be transparent with them and be honest with them, because then they'll have more respect for you, and they'll have more respect for what you're doing. Because, and I don't know who I was talking to the other day. It was a client, but I've done this since 2014. Macros, working out, all the things that I did for my competition. Nothing from my competition changed for me. And that's what Andy, he's like, that was one thing that he was like, so you've been pretty much competing for 8 years, you just never got on stage. I'm like, yeah. But literally it just like left me. What was I just talking about? Like before I said that? It wasn't until we went to my first show that Andy ever looked at bodybuilding, looked at what I did as a sport, ever. He always, for 8 years, 2014, how many years is that? 2014, he has not thought of bodybuilding as a sport, because it's not like in the Olympics, you know, or it's not a very common thing. Definitely not in our town, or even anywhere around our town. So his friends are like, oh, like his wife posts pictures of her butt on the internet, you know, and I am like, no, obviously that's not right. But and so I tried to explain to him at one time, because his friend literally texted him and said something about me putting my butt on social media. Yeah, hold on, Jennifer, let me finish my thoughts, and then I'll read that again. And that night I was like in tears, because when I log on to social media, my whole feed is nothing but bodybuilding. So this is a whole nother world compared to a normal person's thoughts, and when they log on to social media, you know what I mean? So it's normal. Like for me, it's normal. I'm not posting my butt. I'm posting pictures of progress of my glutes, you know what I mean? And every person that is looking at it should see the same thing, and they do see the same thing if that's how they think. But if they think like this dumb little mother effer thought, it would be my butt. And then he texted Andy, and of course Andy doesn't have social media, so he asked me. And so for me to say there's two different, like, it's just kind of a different world, he was like, no, it's not. Like, no, it's not. Well, it wasn't until we went to Scottsdale and he saw, well, then I went through the process of prepping. Then he saw, though, the competition, and he saw how different everybody's body looks, and he saw the reason why different people bodybuild. You know, there was girls on stage that did it, just got on stage to build their confidence. Like, he saw the sport, and that meant so much to me. And so when I got home, and I wanted him to see that in Scottsdale, but of course, I'm not gonna be like, I need you to see this. But when we got home, and how I know he saw it was because when I got home, I was like, so what do you think about me doing another show? And first of all, when I first started my journey, he literally, when I'd be on Instagram, he would be like, please, do not do a show. Please do not do a show. And so that's why I never did one. And last year, when I decided to do one, or when I started thinking about it, of course, first thing I asked went to was him, and I asked what his thoughts were, and he was like, and I said, I only want to do one. This is only what I only want to do it to go through the process so that I can feel what my clients are feeling again, because it's been a long time. He was like, yeah, that sounds good. Perfect. Cool. Supportive, whatever. So asking him to continue on this journey was another thing that I had to do. But when we got home, I was like, so what do you think about me doing another show? And he was like, hell yeah, do it. And listen to those coaches, and you better come in tighter. And like, he was so pumped and fired up. And it was exciting. It was exciting because now he understands why, the root reason, and why I've done this, and I'm doing this, and I'm continuing to do it. So anyway, that would be my biggest tip, is that they have to be able to understand. And he's proud, and he's never, not that he's ever not been proud of me, but he's never understood. And so the other night he said, I was looking at side-by-sides of this prep, and I was like, here's me at 163 and here's me at 140 or 138 or something like that. And I said, do you like me this way or this way? And he said, he was like, I don't, either way, like in the mid, don't matter. He was like, but I'd rather you thicker than you are right now, because he said, I don't like all the veins. And he said, but I am blown away by how the process of it worked. And again, just hearing that from him is very different, because I never heard that before. It was always just, she just works out. She just eats like this because she just wants to. She's crazy. You know what I mean? And now he's like, no, she's got to win. She's got to get better she's got to come in tighter. He don't even know what that means. But so to have that support, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, a lot of people, Jennifer, have that problem with alcohol. A lot of people. But it all is rooted back in everyone that does is this all or nothing mindset. And my husband does not have that mindset. He is the opposite of me in every way, shape, and form. He is, I don't ever want to be like him, but I try to pull habits and traits from him. He doesn't plan. He's not a planner. He's just very straight all the time. Same all the time. Sometimes he'll be a little happy, or sometimes he'll be a little down. But for the most part, all day, every day, he's just this easygoing, chill person, right? And I'm like, wah, wah, all the time, all the time. And he is not, obviously, an all or nothing person. And so he can drink and have a drink and have one drink or two drinks. So anyway, understanding that it's the all or nothing mindset, not the alcohol, was a huge thing for me, because then I could start working on it in other areas, right? And I'm still working on that, and I'm getting better. I don't drink. I drank after my show. Hang on, I'm gonna read it in a minute, Carrie. I drank after my 2 shows, and both times Andy was like, let's go home. No, my first show, I think I was just tired. But I would have kept going if I'd had the energy. But I'm working on that. So it's all, everything else, and I was talking to one of my girls the other day. That is one of my goals, is to be able to have one margarita and not 10 margaritas. But right now, I have much, much bigger goals that are way more important than that. And so I'd rather just keep not drinking and tackle that goal down the road than worry about it right now, because I have other goals, you know what I mean? And so, Jennifer, I have a ton of tips and you can DM me after this as far as tips to be able to go and not drink in public. But the biggest thing is going to be to just not do it, to not start it. You know, it's kind of like having an eating disorder. You have trigger foods. Alcohol is a trigger. You can't stop when you start until you gain that control. So, but yeah, DM me if you want to after this. Carrie. Yeah, I know, Carrie, you are all or nothing too. And yeah, that's what, I was talking to one of my girls. I always say I was talking to one of my girls because these are the only people that I talked to, yesterday. And, I literally feel like I was created for Andy and Andy was created for me. Like in my soulest of souls, for a million reasons. It's crazy. But that is one of the biggest things that I feel like God put each other in our lives, because he's just so chill, like all the time, and just so easygoing. And I don't think that I could be here without him, to be honest with you. As far as like in my journey, like he's just such a big part of it, you know. Just the fact that he doesn't expect, which I almost got on this live earlier to talk about husbands, but I'll talk about it right now because y'all are all here. Or talk about this. Maybe I should wait because it's already 7:20. But I'll just say this one thing and then I'll talk about it another day. But women, one of my friends, and I've heard this a million times, is women will be like, my husband tells me that I'm pretty and that he loves me the way I am, but he's just my husband. And, you know, I know he has to say that. No, he don't. He does not have to say that. And if women would just start listening to their husbands when they say things like that, their confidence would go up tremendously. Because at the end of the day, the only man that I want to think I'm sexy and to think that I'm pretty and to think that I'm good enough is him. And so if he's telling me all the things that I want to hear, then why would I say it's just him? Why are you saying that? That's good. Like, tell him thank you and keep going with yourself. You know what I mean? But don't say he has to say that, because he doesn't have to say that. And I don't know if it's because I talk to so many, you know, women, whether it be friends or clients or just in general, that I know that, you know, that not every man tells their wife that they're pretty. Not every man tells their wife that they love them the way they are. Don't take advantage of that. Tell that man thank you, and like let it build your confidence. Let that be the root ground of your confidence being built, because that's the only person that matters. And then at the same time, on the flip side, this is the last thing I'll say, unless y'all just want to keep talking, I tell Andy thank you for everything. And a lot of my friends, like one of my girlfriends will be like, she's always like, why are you thanking him for coming home? And I'll thank him for coming home. I do it every single night. And he says, you don't have to thank me, every single night literally for 7 years, or however long we've been together. And I know from experience that not every man comes home, period, at night, right? And I am thankful that he chooses to come home. And sometimes he chooses to come home early. Sometimes he chooses to come home at 10. Sometimes he chooses to come home at 12. But he still chooses to come home. And I'm very thankful for that. And so that, for me to say thank you for coming home boosts his confidence as a husband. You know what I mean? And so our goals here in a marriage is to do that. Because unless no one knows how to be the perfect wife or the perfect husband, especially for each other, right? So everybody's marriage is just based on constant affirmation, I guess, or I don't know if that's the right word. Reassurance that this is what you're doing is serving us as a married couple, and it's serving me and making me want to be a better wife. So thanking Andy for things that he should do as a husband, which nothing expectations. You shouldn't have expectations for, husbands and wife. That's why people get divorced and get all in arguments and stuff. But saying thank you literally has made him over all the years come home earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier. Obviously, he doesn't want to come home if I'm going to bitch at him for coming home at 10. He just ain't going to come home. You know what I mean? But so that if I could give you one tip on marriage, because I'm just the expert, it would be that. It'd be two things. One, be completely, look how dirty my nails are. Be completely vulnerable and honest with your most secretive secrets, because that's how you grow, and the person has to know that to be as supportive as you need them to be, as you know, Carrie. And then number two is to never expect anything. Like, I don't ever expect anything. That doesn't mean that anything bad, you know what I mean? But if I never expect him, I can't expect him to do things that he doesn't like. That just forces me to tell him stuff. Tell him to take the trash out. Tell him how I need him to do or love me, right? Because he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He's never done this before. You know what I mean? But anyway, so saying thank you, and then when he tells you that you're pretty, and when he tells you that he loves you just the way you are, tell him thank you and believe it. Believe it. Because that's all that matters, is what he thinks about you, right? And that should make you feel better and more confident, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so that's it for tonight. That was a long live, and I'm so thankful that y'all are here. And so next Thursday, I'm gonna be back on, but I don't know what I don't know exactly what I'm gonna talk about. I think I'm gonna be talking about emotional eating, but I don't know. So hopefully, I think I did pretty good staying on track. I like to do lives from the heart. You know what I mean? But I know that I'm trying to be more structured and stuff. So we'll see. But anyway, okay, well, I hope y'all have a good night, and I'm so thankful that y'all came. And if y'all have any questions about anything, shoot me a DM, and I'll definitely answer. Bye. Oh, good night.